Team, good to see you. Now, I've discovered something just recently. I was wanting to do some infographics, some things to help my IB economics learners to understand concepts, and particularly at the moment, market failure and tradable permits. So I heard that Gemini was really good at creating infographics. So what I ended up doing was going to Gemini and having a wee play. And inside Gemini, all right, we ended up creating this. Now let's have a look at here. This is the prompt here. Analyze deeply the contents of this video, gave it a link. All right, generate an infographic, turn the transcript into a cheat sheet for the students with exam tips, etc. That would be useful. So it read it, but it didn't like the idea of not having the transcript. So I ended up having to copy the transcript from YouTube, which you can do, and pasting it in there as well. It then reads the transcript, and within like literally minutes, it created the summary list here, all about tradable permits for my students. It's not a lot of depth. There's no real external links. There's not really any sort of exam-based tips. And then it created this infographic. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. That's good. And then it got me thinking about the other Gen AI tools and what they might be capable of doing. So what I ended up doing was taking this information over to ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is obviously a bit of a different engine. And let's share this one. So I gave it the prompt. There it is. And it talked about it. It couldn't, again, scrape the transcript, but it went online and found information from online and created a whole big student-based information about tradable permits, diagrams, what does the examiner want to see, why do economists like the diagrams, evaluating them, comparison with different methods to solve pollution in particular, cap and trade idea. Here, a lot more depth, a lot more detail. Then it's like summaries, what diagrams do you need, what is the summary for the advantages, the evaluation, comparisons, real world examples even, and some exam tips. So I thought that was really good. However, this was the bit there that it then said it couldn't create the infographic for me, which I'm fairly certain it can if I push it hard enough, but that's for another day. But it did create this structure, this prompt, and it then said to me to take that and put it into like Canva or one of the other image generating sites, and it will then create a much nicer, perhaps, infographic. So I copied that and I went, yes, all the way back to Gemini, okay, which is here. Let me show you this one. I put the new prompt in, that's it in there, and it came out with this one as an infographic, which is a lot nicer. The colors are good, the layout's very good. It's got a little footer there. So yeah, quite helpful, quite good. And again, I thought, well, that was ChatGPT's version. What about Claude? So I then thought, well, I tell you what, let's go to Claude and see what Claude can do. All right. Now, it's interesting. This is what Claude came up with. This is what's called an interactive artifact. It is more it's an interactive artifact. It was going for an infographic, and this is what it came up with. It is very nice. It is very clean. It's very straightforward. There's a little bit of an example there, and then there's the key benefits. All right. Now it is a little interactive in that the bubbles float. All right. There's no links to anything. There's no quizzes or anything that you might expect to see inside a interactive artifact. So what did that look like with Claude? Why did Claude do that? All right. So if we look back to Claude, and Claude will arrive very soon. All right. Here he is. All right. That's the artifact there. Go away. Go away. Oh, right, slow. No, don't want to do that. All right, so again, here's that same prompt that we've used. Right, it looked at it. It didn't like the idea, again, about the transcript. So I put the transcript in. Right, it then looked at it. There's me putting the transcript in. It then looked at it, it thought some about it, then it thought some more, then it debated with itself, then it thought some more, then it debated with itself. What about this? Create this. And it was doing all of this without me giving it any extra prompting. Here it goes, creating the image, working through it all, and then it created a few different versions depending on, what I was wanting it for, and a tiny little summary. So yeah, Claude didn't do particularly well in this aspect. However, what I was asking it to do, it didn't seem to be able to do. So if I was asking it to instead create from the transcript a student-friendly summary with exam links, etc., then yeah, it'd do that very well. And same with the interactive artifact. It would probably do that extraordinarily well. So this is the situation I was in. I then decided to let my students see them, so I created them as docs. Let's create them here, show you here. So this one was the Gemini one. There's the summary without the links, without exam tips, and I put both infographics in, just so that they could have them. And then this, sharing this tab, all right? This one here was the Claude version and the GPT version, all right? With all the detail, the hyperlinks to the other sites that it used for reference, little wee tips that for the students, learners about the exam, comparison table. Right. I really like the way it has done this. The depth and the connection, right, is really good. The connections to outside sources is fantastic. I mean, this one source here is an enormous policy-based document about the carbon market in Europe. It's got real-world examples, it's got exam tips, it's got more than I asked for. And as a teacher, that's probably the sort of thing that we would end up producing for our learners. And we'd go, yay! But when I asked the learners, surprise, surprise, they preferred this one. The Gemini version, which was simpler, shorter, didn't have a whole lot of extraneous links, didn't have a whole lot of extra information about exams, and then had the infographics that they were then able to use, grab, take, put into their notes and annotate around. So for them, simpler, easier to understand, and better. And it might be that I start using Gemini to create these sorts of simple, straightforward, infographic style summaries for the learners, and then use the other tools for a bit more advanced exam-based materials. So I wanted to show you that. Thank you very much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the videos. Share them with your friends. It's really helpful. Otherwise, hei kōrera, have a great day.